This conversation just a couple Fridays ago with running back great Adrian Peterson. Here's the rest of that Covenant catch-up.
2nd and 9 from the Green Bay 37. It's all tied at 34. Rudolph in motion. Hand off Adrian to the left. Gets through the line of scrimmage. Bumps it out to the 30. Cuts it back to the 25. Inside the 20. And he's tackled at the 11-yard line. That's a 26-yard run for Adrian Peterson, who is 8 yards shy of Eric Dickerson's single-season mark. And unless Blair Walsh misses this and we go to overtime, Adrian Peterson will finish 8 yards shy of Eric Dickerson's 1984 mark of 21:05. Adrian Peterson now in the Ring of Honor with the Minnesota Vikings. We chatted earlier, and there were so many accolades and wonderful moments with Adrian on the field with the Minnesota Vikings, but 2016 was a little weird. The Vikings were going to play the Indianapolis Colts at U.S. Bank Stadium. Strange week for Adrian and some situations up to the game. Strange game for Adrian in the game. Final game for Adrian Peterson wearing the colors. When we chatted, I'm like, did it end okay here?
You know, it didn't finish exactly how I wanted, or how I envisioned. But, when I look back on it, a lot of that had to do with me as well. Mm-hmm. And just kind of how I went by things. But, then accomplish winning a championship, which was something that, was on my list of things to do, the top thing on my list to do while I was there in Minnesota. But, when I think about it, there's so many great relationships we built and so many great memories there as well. And as far as like the head, right, the organization from, Rick Spielman to Kevin Warren, all those guys, the relationship was awesome. It was awesome. And even with Coach Zimmer.
That's great.
Me and Coach Zimmer, we didn't hate each other. He's a heck of a coach, a guy that I have so much respect for. It was just one little situation towards the end that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And I felt like I could have handled it different, because, I think that year we got the new coach, a new running back coach that came in. And he reached out a couple times just to kind of talk and, kind of gather, what I was thinking and this, that, and other. And I kind of missed his calls and never really got back to him, because I was kind of caught up in my feelings. And, so I think that kind of unraveled to, them bringing in a different guy and me going in a different direction.
And you mentioned that chasing a championship here with the Vikings was first and foremost. And that 2009 season and Brett Favre, and I never will forget the moment in the locker room after the Saints went to Cheaton and beat you guys in overtime. And it's you in your third year, Sidney Rice in his second year, Percy Harvin, Rookie of the Year. And you guys are all around Brett Favre. And the thing that I just loved that whole year, man, is that he was nearing the end of his career and all you guys were just starting. So, like, I would see you guys interact with him, and it was like you looked up to him so much because all you guys grew up watching him, but he was like a surrogate uncle or something like that to you guys too, man. It's just, when you guys all embraced in that locker room at Superdome after that game and you all cried, I'll never forget that. I mean, that's the closest you got to a championship. But that 2009 season and Brett Favre, what did he mean to you?
He meant a lot. You grow up and you're watching, a legend, at play, his legendary career. You're watching him at Green Bay and all the things that he was able to do down there, just the way he played the game, the passion he played with. So you had so much, just love for him and admired his game and just everything about him, So, once he gets towards the end of his career and, here you are, another, second-year guy, third-year guy, and you're playing with Brett Favre, it was pretty spectacular. A really amazing moment. And then even more impressive was just his knowledge of the game and the incredibly strong arm he still had, at that age of 40. Some of the throws he used to make at practice, and you have to have your head on the swivel and your catching hands, ready to catch the ball, because he was a true gunslinger.
Yeah.
And he practiced the way he played in the game. So those balls were coming full speed. But just to have those 2 seasons and that first season in 2009 and accomplish the things that we were able to accomplish, but just fall a little short. It was something that, I'm sure we'll all remember, for the rest of our lives. And just to be able to play with a legendary guy like him was awesome. And then next year, the season wasn't as great, but, we bring on Randy Moss, and it's like, another legend, Ring of Honor guy right there, Randy Moss. Like, how awesome is that?
Yeah, for sure.
To play with Randy Moss, too.
Yeah, a couple of Hall of Famers, too, like John Randall, Randy Moss, Brett Favre, Adrian Peterson. I mean, that just sounds like it's supposed to go that way. All right. This is fantastic, Adrian. God bless you, man. I really appreciate the time. A couple of quickies to close here, because I do want to talk about your son. But you said with Brett, you always had to have your catching hands ready. All right. I've never asked you a question like this, so let me frame it up like this. All right. Listen closely. How would you respond to those who describe your Vikings career like this? Oh, Adrian Peterson, Hall of Famer for sure. One of the game's all-time great runners. Not much for the catching game, a little too mechanical. How would you respond to that?
I would say, watch the 2 years Brett Favre was there.
Ooh.
And look at my receiving stats. I think the first year I had maybe 450, 500 yards receiving. And then the next year, I had maybe a little something under that.
Yeah.
But I would just give them that example right there. I actually had a quarterback that kicked the ball down to me and found me and put the ball in my hand outside of handing the ball directly to me.
That's a beautiful answer, man.
Those numbers don't lie. My receiving yards picked up for a reason. When he was around.
I mean, once a competitor, always a competitor. I mean, seriously, how long you been out of the game? 5 years, 4 years, 5 years?
Yeah, 5 years.
Okay,
man, 5 years.
I mean, you're never going to give anybody an edge at anything, are you?
No, I still feel like I can play.
Hey, 2009, your run at Pittsburgh when you trucked William Gay. Is that one of the most memorable in your career?
Yeah, that's definitely one of those ones that I remember the most. And the crazy thing about that PA is that I literally, as soon as I turned around, I was kind of shocked to see him, and you can kind of see it in like my gallop and how even though I ran the guy over and stepped on his chest, you can kind of. The part that upsets me is like, dang, I should have just, as soon as I turned around, I should have just, pushed the gas and just ran through him immediately. But I ended up running through him and then hit the sideline, and you could just see just the energy that was let out, once I got tackled on the sideline. It was just one of those games going against that Steeler defense, too, where I was just locked in and wired up.
Hey, before we say goodbye, Adrian, tell us about your 14-year-old son, Adrian Peterson Jr. I read some stuff about him as, I think, an 8th grade football player. He'll be a freshman next year. It's Texas high school football. I mean, seriously, what do we have here with Junior?
Just really have a special kid, man. He's really, really smart, and that's the one thing I love about him the most. He's a lot smarter than I was, at his age, but really smart kid. He's very mature for his age, and just his mentality and how he approached school, and not only school, but how he approached his craft with how he trains, whether that's baseball, football, and even this track. So he actually understands that you get out what you put in. So he works out extremely hard. He's really dedicated with what he does, and he's intentional. You can tell him, hey, you need to. I felt like on this play, when he was running the ball, because he's an athlete, right? But he plays a receiver position. He played running back. He played defense side of the ball, cornerback. So he does it all. But you can tell him, hey, on this running play, I felt like you could have pressed it a little more, before you jump cut and bounce it outside, and that would have, got that Mike linebacker to commit more, and maybe you could have broke it forward, 5-10 more yards, and you would see him go out there and he'll do it, and even when it comes to running routes, it's the same thing. Like, hey man, this guy was playing, more inside, try to, spread it out a little more, come in tighter, and go 2 or 3 yards. Maybe you didn't hit the right depth, and he's able to respond and get it done. So that's been the most impressive part about him, that he picks up on those things. But a really smart kid. He's a hard worker. He comes home around about 4:00, and shortly after that, I see him outside, and he's got his cones up, and he's doing receiver drills and practicing routes and stuff like that. So at his age, to have that mentality and that focus and that dedication, is one of the reasons he got 8 or 9 D1 offers right now.
Wow.
Minnesota,
nice.
University of Miami, Florida State just offered him on a Monday, Syracuse, so Baylor, and so he's he's a special kid. And last year, this past summer, man, he had a growth spurt. He right now he's probably about 180. To put on a little more weight, about 180, 185, 6'1". And he's ripped up, man. This little kid, this guy is cut, So, here soon I'll be looking up to him, which I'm not looking forward to, because I don't want to be looking down on me like, hey, Dad, what you say again?
Hey, I just got a text from Jimmy Pessis with Continental Diamond. Remember those awesome private parties you'd come to at Continental Diamond with a bunch of other players? Man, we had some good times there.
Man, some great times there. Great time. What a great family and a great company. Yeah. I'm have to get down there again, man. I miss those moments, man. That was awesome times, being able to be a part of that.
You're fantastic. Congratulations on the Ring of Honor induction. Well deserved, and I'm sure I'll see you up here at the stadium one day, okay?
All right, look forward to it, PA. Good to hear from you. Good to talk to you, brother.
Adrian Peterson.
And he's loose! Let's go! Right now.
Live from the TCO Performance Center in Eagan, this is Paul Allen from the KFAN Minnesota Vikings studio.
Nordo, we're back.
Oh, we're back.
We're back.
We're back.
We're back. There was an internet outage at Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center, and when that sucker crashed, the board, how would you describe the board? The audio board?
Yes, our audio and production board, our Wheatstone, it requires some network connectivity too. And when the internet went off for all of us, the board said, "No, I'm going to take a break too," which created some issues that were resolved. I have to do it. And those of you listening to 9 to Noon,
what happened?
Inner workings, it's on-air production.
We're back.
The staff, the VEN staff here, as I affectionately call, whether it's Jared Wells or Jess Meyer back at our station, I call them the nerds.
Yeah.
And when we have issue, the nerds, they put on the superhuman costumes and they handle business. And that's what we got here at Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center today from our guy Cole.
Led by a young man named Cole Mayer, who's not only with the Vikings Entertainment Network, he works with IT, he's a broadcast engineer. The work he did in feverish fashion to get this, because so the internet comes back and I'm like, all right, we're back. No, we're not back. The board's fried. Cole Mayer and those working with him, Excellent. Covenant claps, the only way to do it.
Thank you.
I mean, seriously, Cole, well done, man, in very quick fashion. So we're back, and joining us now is Joe Rush, Director of Youth and High School Football for the Minnesota Vikings. You've heard 9 to Noon talk about it today and last week. 6:30 tonight on KFAN. Halvey and Parker Fox are going to be at TCO Stadium, and we're going to have a 6:30 radio show during the Girls Flag Football Championship. Now, the games begin at noon. All right, so there are girls flag football games at noon today at the TCO Stadium. Tickets are free through Vikings.com, assuming some are left. And the schools that are participating include Centennial, Cretin-Derham Hall, Eden Prairie, La Crescent, Hoka, Minneapolis, Washburn, Minnetonka, Park Cottage Grove, Rogers, Rosemount, St. Louis Park, St. Cloud Tech, and Waterville, Elysian, Morristown, along with White Bear Lake, if I didn't say them. Joe, we've had Joe on the radio before. Director of Youth and High School Football has a lot to do with that. The Will family, I think, has pumped $2 million-ish into flag football, specifically girls flag football. And Joe joins us now. What's up, bud?
Hey, PA, thanks for having me back. It's great to slide back up into the big chair here.
It's a big day for Joe Rush today, isn't it?
It really
is. It's like the culmination of a bunch of ideas and meetings. I think Minnesota High School League's involved. It's a big day. A big day for you.
Big day for me, but more importantly, a big day for all these girls and these coaches and these young women that are finally getting an opportunity to play the game of football that they have always dreamed to do.
Now, 6:30 tonight, KFAN championship game. Let's begin here. The league with girls flag football went from 51 to 104 in 2026. How?
It's a great question. I think it's a culmination of a lot of effort on multiple fronts, right? But it's also because it's such an accessible sport for schools to offer and administer. It's easy for the girls to pick up and learn. You don't need a ton of girls to form a team. So it's really just an accessible sport, but it's also building a really profound sense of community for these girls. And they're really gravitating towards an opportunity that they've frankly wanted for a long time and just now are finally having the chance to capitalize on.
What led to the genesis of this idea? Like, was it a Wilf? Was it you? Who comes up with the, hey, let's do this for the girls, flag football. Let's eventually push hard enough and put enough money into it to get it to go varsity. And then the next layer, I would imagine, would be a path to college sports. I don't even know what's happening there with flag football. But like the genesis, how did you guys come up with this?
Yeah, it's a great question. And, ultimately, it's the girls, it's the schools, the coaches telling us that they want it. But as you zoom out a little bit, there's already 22 states plus Washington, D.C. that have this as a high school varsity sport. So while I'd love to say that we're super unique here in Minnesota, it's ultimately a national and frankly, a global movement with the sport being offered in the Olympics for the first time in 2028 in the L.A. Olympic Games for both men and women. We've really seen that be a springboard. And you noted it, right? We now are seeing collegiate opportunity at the D1, D2, and D3 level. So and we're really building out the whole opportunity pipeline for these girls.
I ain't trying to shortchange the ownership group here, the Will family. I think it's $2 million-ish that they put into this over like up to a half decade, 2, 3, 4 years, right?
Yeah, and that's just direct funding too. There's all the ancillary and educational resources and best practices and things that have added value to this on the experiential, but also the development side as well. So $2 million, certainly is in the kind of the hard cash value, but there's been so much more that's been put into it.
Where does the money go? Like, how does it help?
A lot of it goes directly to the schools, to the programs, to be able to pay coaches, buy equipment, order uniforms. But a lot of it too just goes into the infrastructure costs, right? Making sure we have well-trained officials to support this in a long-term and healthy way. We need athletic trainers. We need ADs that know what they're doing in terms of athletic administration. So a lot of it certainly, again, has been direct to schools, but a lot of it's been put into the long-term sustainability and the infrastructure as well.
What's the envisioned long play with what you guys are doing?
At the end of the day, we want to follow suit with, where nearly the majority of the country is going, right? We want this to be a high school varsity sanctioned sport here in Minnesota. So ultimately, we have a couple more steps to achieve in that ultimately in that end goal. But, member schools, girls, athletes, coaches, officials, they're all telling us that's where they want this sport to go, high school varsity sanctioned status.
What does emerging sports status mean? Because it feels like on the rungs of this ladder, working with the state high school league, that's a part part of this conversation too.
And that plays into last week. The Minnesota State High School League tabled a vote to grant emerging sport status.
Yeah. Transparently, the emerging sport process or protocols are fairly new here in our state. So, transparently, I think we're all kind of learning a little bit about what emerging status means. Certainly with over, 104 teams, over 3,500 girls playing, we think it's an undeniable level. That's where we're headed. But, ultimately at the end of the day, we would have loved to see that vote pass last week. But we're confident in the process. We respect the MSHSL protocols and bylaws there. But, we're really excited and see a long future with the sport.
So you saw this massive jump year to year, 104 teams up from 51. What does 2027 look like? So you see this tournament and everyone's playing in it. There's got to be I want in. So does 100 become 200? And then now we're talking just logistically how to organize this thing. This is probably a fun part, a frustrating part maybe at times, but a fun part of the growth process.
Yeah, that's the fun part. Nobody has the crystal ball to exactly see where next year goes. And ultimately, we didn't know 51 to go to 104 either. So we are certainly ready and prepared to help facilitate for any school that wants to join. We actively are wanting more schools, more girls to participate in this sport. And certainly the more teams, the more schools and girls that participate, the better our chance of sanctioning status is.
So you mentioned, was it 22 states, including D.C.?
Correct.
Nationwide popularity. Is this something that, with girls flag football, that became, the inception of it was there and then it just took off? I mean, everybody wanted to be part of it.
Exponential growth. We are seeing participation numbers, nationwide double year over year, if not more. And, with, again, nearing a majority of the states here in the United States that offer it as a high school varsity sport, we expect that number to continue to increase. And we found, too, that once you offer it as a formal, acknowledged, credible sport, even more schools, more girls want to play. So as soon as we kind of get that formal kind of status, I expect that to even take a bigger jump.
The attendance for the games today, then the championship game tonight. I mentioned it earlier that tickets are free through Vikings.com. Still tickets available?
Correct. Yep.
Right on.
Please visit Vikings.com/girlsflag.
Games begin at noon, right?
Games begin at noon. We expect our championship game to start around 6 o'clock.
Mm-hmm. Is that just in a minor, this is probably a clipping penalty, but they would need to go to Vikings.com to get that free ticket versus just showing up saying, hey, let me in, right?
Correct. Yeah, we are asking everybody goes online to claim a free ticket on Vikings.com/girlsflag. If you do show up at the gates, our ticket resolution people will help you out.
They'll probably figure something out.
So you have 13 squads here today, right?
Correct.
So they start playing at noon, and that will determine the two that play this evening around 6 o'clock on KFAN.
Correct. We had, 13 districts of 8 teams, and so they went through a playoff round. So that's, hence the 13 qualifiers for the state tournament in a single elimination format. So it is a, win and in advance type of tournament. So
who got the bye? 13. What are we going to do here?
Top 3 seeds got a bye. So Minneapolis Washburn, Rosemount, and La Crescent Hoka get a first round bye.
How'd they get a bye?
That was a tiebreaker status of, they had perfect records, 11-0 on their regular season, which is really impressive. And then, the matrix of strength of schedule, head-to-head, points allowed, and all those things.
Coin flip at a diner.
Exactly.
Do you do all that?
We have an advisory committee of ADs and coaches from member schools from around the state with really good representation, perspective, background in high school sport administration that helped us along the way.
The voice of Joe Rush, director of youth and high school football for the Minnesota Vikings, and the girls flag football championship takes place tonight on KFAN. Begins around 6:30. We have 6 o'clock. We have a radio show at 6:30 with Zach Halverson and Parker Fox on KFAN at 6:30 tonight. And once again, go to Vikings.com and you can claim tickets if you want to come watch the festivities today or the championship game this evening. How physical can the girls get in girls flag football?
Yeah, it's a great question. We always say it's not necessarily a no contact sport. It's a minimal contact sport, right? Just kind of like basketball, right? It's not necessarily that, there's zero contact. But there is an emphasis on not having collisions, right? So, it can be competitive. It can be a little bit physical, but in a managed and controlled way, which a lot of girls love.
So what is it on versus 7-on-7 or what?
Yeah, the gameplay format is 5v5 at this stage. So So, the field width is, 25 yards and the length is 50 yards. So we fit 2 fields on one traditional 100-yard football field. So there's a lot of action going. It's a fast-paced, high scoring. So it's a really, really fun game format.
All right. So if I'm running some kind of a sneaky screen, and I get a player or 2 out in front of the skill person, but so therefore to block, I got to block. That has some physicality to it.
Yeah.
Like how is that officiated?
Good question. In this game format, blocking is not allowed.
Got it.
So unless you're the offensive player with the ball, you're not allowed to screen. You're not allowed to push, shove, or block.
So you're seeing spins, cuts, just to keep that flag away from the adversary.
Exactly. And there's really, really creative ways to avoid flag pulling that, frankly, if you've never watched it before, it'll fascinate you.
Like what?
There's a move where, like a hip dip, right, where you're running full speed and you just change the level of your hips versus trying to do a spin move or trying to do a jump cut or something like that. It's a really impressive and athletic movement.
You get fined for the hip drop tackle in the NFL, but the hip drop flag pull completely in play.
And I haven't felt my ribs in 30 years. I've been trying to drop my hips for 15. I mean, I got to get out there and see what some of the art is, Nordo.
Well, I just saw this too, so we want people to come in again, Vikings.com. If you cannot, middle of a workday, etc., you can live stream these games. Hey, what does this look like? And I can't get in on person. You guys have worked with Strip Varsity, I believe. They're going to have this content available online, so you can watch the games today too.
Yeah, that's correct. The Minnesota Star Tribune has been a great partner in really advocating and showcasing these girls, these athletes, and their talent. So yes, as Nordo mentioned, if you are not able to come to TCO Stadium today, please tune into the Strip Varsity live stream link and learn a little bit more about this sport.
Where do you find refs?
It's been a targeted effort to try to boost the officiating pool, not only to elevate all sports, because a lot of our officials are coming from a background of tackle football, but a lot of our officials have never officiated before. So it's really a value add to high school sports in totality, because we're finding that a lot of people, their entry point might be flag, but they're that much more likely to go officiate tackle football or basketball or wrestling. So, and we've also seen it over-index on female officials too. So it's been really, really cool to get more women involved in this game in more ways than just playing and coaching.
So what would lead to a flag?
You can't flag guard, right? So you can't stiff arm the opponent while they're trying to grab your flag, something like that, right? Certainly
What about slap?
You can't slap. Nope. And a lot of the
get out of there.
A lot of the traditional ones too, like false starts or offsides.
Yeah.
The quarterback rusher has to start from 7 yards behind the line of scrimmage. So there's some
depth of route.
Exactly. There's some nuance to the rule set, and I would certainly encourage everybody to kind of do some research and reach out to us if you want to learn more.
Is that why I saw Trey Blake in the hallway?
What the path to colleges. All right. So, and if I'm completely out and in the wrong lane here, then just take me deep, because I'm thinking if this has grown nationally the way you say it has, and we've gone from 51 to 104 locally, and we're pumping money into it, it would seem like a next step would be viable. So is this a path to colleges having girls flag football leagues?
Absolutely.
Or do they already have them?
It certainly already have them. I'm sure this is an outdated statistic, but there's more than 65 NCAA collegiate programs across the country. Here locally, we just completed our second year of a kind of a Vikings-backed collegiate league, featuring in large part a lot of MIAC, UMAC, WIAC, Northern Sun types of programs. We had 9 compete this past spring. A lot of the girls, women that competed on those rosters, a lot of them were starting to come from our high school league. So I know in particular there was a couple of Moundsview girls that played on the St. Ben's team this past spring, and we're continuing to see girls commit at the collegiate level.
Well, an Olympic trickle down too. I mean, it's not it's not everything drives or is driven from the Olympics, but you think the combination of the NFL. Yeah, I don't see breakdancing necessarily becoming a massive college and high school phenomenon. Maybe it will be. Who knows? Don't sell it short. But the Olympics kind of helps, right? Because now you're going to get groups and training happening. Everybody, the curling, you think about that vibe after the U.S. team wins it. The Olympics can probably help drive some of this popularity too.
Yeah, the Olympics is a tremendous springboard, and there's also developing of a professional league as well that we might be a couple years away from that reality. But ultimately, yeah, to your point, the Olympics is an awesome springboard.
Two more. Joe Rush, Director of Youth and High School Football. Back to the Minnesota State High School League and tabling a vote. So this is not a varsity sport. It's like a club program or something, but getting it to become a varsity sport, MSHL has to be involved. It's like how close do you think you are to that?
Yeah, we think we're right there. We're very close. There's certainly some things that, I know they have some questions about or would like to see. And ultimately we feel as though we have a lot of the information and answers to make sure, that satisfies, their needs, but also like the sustainable and longevity of the sport, right? Mm-hmm. So, certainly again, respect their process. We're going to be, active and good partners with them to make sure this is built in a way that's the best, for the girls and the member schools participating.
I'm guessing the girls' enthusiasm must be infectious. I mean, how excited do they get for not only the games, but the opportunity to be part of something at ground level that can be a pathway to a collegiate sport?
I think you hit the nail right on the head. They're not only passionate because they're competitive and they're talented and they want to compete at the highest level, but I think they also kind of understand what it really means and the trailblazing nature of they're creating opportunity and opening doors for generations of girls to come. So I think the girls that are playing now, they really understand that, and that's a profound impact on them, and they take a really profound sense of responsibility of that too.
Lastly, with what you can share, or even if there is anything, other youth and high school projects on which you're working, like what's coming down the pipeline?
Yeah, it's a great question. We certainly like to support tackle football in the same way that we're supporting girls flag and flag football, right? So a lot of the same recognition programs. We host Games of the Week or our Vikings Prep Spotlight program in the
Friday
fall.
night bit.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so we host All-Star games in the end of the season. Coach of the Week, Coach of the Year, officiating Crews of the Month. So we really like to have our fingerprints all over youth and high school football, and then certainly down to the Little Tykes level too. We're kicking off our youth camps program and road trip later this week. Actually heading out to South Dakota, and so we really like to canvass the area here and make sure kids at all levels, all ages have access to football.
So the girls flag football championship on KFAN tonight, 6:00-ish is when the game begins. Radio show begins at 6:30 with Halvey and Parker Fox. That's 90 to 95% of what you do, right?
Correct.
That this is the A topic. Whatever comes off that, with what you said, the other stuff, that's great. But this is a big day, man. Congratulations on the hard work and getting all these girls flag football teams out here. That's going to be fantastic starting at noon. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
That's Joe Rush. He's the director of high school sports and youth sports for the Minnesota Vikings, and we are greatly appreciative of his time. Once again, if you want tickets to come watch this today, go to Vikings.com to claim your tickets. And 6:30 tonight, KFAN, we have a radio show with Halvey and Parker Fox. Back after this.
Let's go.
McNabb, link wide, Theodore shoots, wide rebound, he scores! Off the backboards, off the goaltender, and onto the scoreboard! A double overtime win for the Golden Knights in Game
3. Pat Micheletti, Minnesota Hockey Immortality, joins now. He's a weekly component for 9 to noon during hockey season. At PatMick2626 via X, at PatMick2626 via X. And here he is, the man we call him, Mick Tockett. 2-1 Vegas Golden Knights through 3. Next game is tomorrow. What do you think of the Cup so far, and good morning?
Well, good morning to you, and thanks for having me. I thought it was going to be a low-scoring series. Boy, was I wrong. You knew that a Carolina team was never, ever, ever going to quit under the direction of Rod Brindamore. That's not in their DNA, and they proved that the other night. I think when you look at guys like Jack Eichel, who is arguably has been one of the better players in the Stanley Cup playoffs, even though he's not produced offensively, goes to show you something right there about how difficult it is to produce offensively in the playoffs, and how difficult it is to garner any type of offense when the checking is so tight. And I kind of contradict myself to a certain degree, because there's been a lot of goals scored. But that being said, there have been the scoring has happened when there have been lapses by the other teams where they don't understand that, or they do understand, but for some reason they stop playing for periods of time, and a lot of goals are scored in that time frame. So it's been a really weird Stanley Cup final, but it's been great for the fans.
Mick, I heard some heavy hitters yesterday on NHL radio saying that this is the best 3-game start to a Stanley Cup final, and they were saying ever. I mean, and these are old school, best school, man. And I'm like, they must have elite memories, because that's a bold claim, right?
It's really bold, because, if you go back and neither you nor I have the time to go back and listen to audio of what was said in the previous Stanley Cups. Every year they're great. This one has been great, just because of all the crazy things that have happened. The number of goals being scored, Carolina coming back from a 4-0 deficit with 12 minutes to go in the game. And so we've seen a lot of crazy stuff, but every year they're great. They're just great in different ways. And this year has been unarguably a very different way in these first 3 games.
All right. Well, for instance, 1991, North Stars Penguins. All right.
Yeah.
So Minnesota wins the first one 5-4. Then Pittsburgh wins 4-1. Then the Stars win 3-1 at Met Center. All right. So maybe the scores aren't as close, but insiders tell me that those first 3 in 1991 stack up with these 3 between the Canes and the Golden Knights. Do you agree?
I kind of disagree. I mean, Buffalo was the heavy favorite in that series with Mario Lemieux and
I thought it was the Penguins and the Stars.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, I'm sorry. You said Buffalo. Go ahead.
Did I say Buffalo?
Mm-hmm. It's all
Okay.
good. Keep going.
Regardless. I apologize. The Penguins, the Pittsburgh Penguins, were the heavy favorite in that series with Lemieux and company, and Paul Coffey. I mean, they were loaded, and so I'd have to go back and look, but I mean, Lemieux was fabulous in that series, and I think they had the better goaltending, and all the way, from top to bottom, they were the favorite, and they won the cup.
And I think like in '87
by the North Stars that year, also. But I think, I'd have to look back, Paul, but I don't think they had a great regular season that year, and just caught fire during the playoffs, and were kind of a surprise to get to the final that year. So, I don't know. Like I said, every year is great, but every year is different.
Right. I mean, and I think it was '87. Edmonton won a series in 7. First 3 went Oilers 4. First game, Oilers 4, Flyers 2. Then Oilers 3, Flyers 2 in overtime. And the Flyers won game 3, 5-3 in Pitt. Looking back and reading up on that one, I'm like, holy cow, that's how quickly we forget. I mean, that was unbelievable. But these first 3 have been terrific, absolutely.
Hey, Patrick.
Yeah, they have. And I'll go back. I mean, the series I enjoyed the most were, the epic battles between the Detroit Red Wings and the Colorado Avalanche. Just outstanding series. And you want to talk about, and the game was different back then because there was a lot of fighting, and a lot of those series in the 80s and the 90s were really intimidating type series where you would intimidate the other team, and your tough guys were the tough guys, and they set the tone. And now, in this era, it's a little bit different. You don't see. I mean, how many scrums have we seen in this final thus far?
None.
Not very many at all.
Right.
And so the intimidation factor is different, and it's more, okay, we're going to beat you, or we're going to check you, or we're going to get the better goaltending, or whatever the case may be. A lot different than what it used to be. So again, this series has been great, and anytime you get to the Stanley Cup final, it's always fun.
Hey, Patrick, who's got the better goaltending situation? So on one end, you got Bussy, who comes in and plays lights out, save for the tough from Shea Theodore in OT. Bussy was unbelievable in his debut. Carter Hart, it's kind of almost like a Jesper Wallstedt situation where it feels like he's been kind of tailing off thus far in this series. You mentioned people and lapses in front of him, but all the same, Adin Hill, I don't think has played since early April. I don't think he's touched the ice in these playoffs. Like, who's got a stronger, or maybe we look at it, who's got a more tenuous situation or bigger decision to make moving forward?
Well, I don't think Vegas will stray from Carter Hart. They don't trust Adin Hill. Adin Hill was horrific during the regular season, where Carolina, Bussy played a lot of hockey during the year, and he was really good. And they obviously have gone with Frederik Andersen. I don't think they'll go with him tomorrow night. I think Bussy's going to get the nod. But you're spot on. Both these goalies have played a lot of hockey in the playoffs, and that's mentally draining and physically draining. And you're right. Both goalies have not been good. I thought before the series, Nordo, and I think I said it on this show, that I give the edge to Vegas. But right now, neither of them are playing great. Hart has come up with some really big saves when he's had to, but he's let in some leaky ones too. And so, I don't know. I certainly the extra day's rest is going to help Hart. Now, what Brind'Amour ends up doing, we're going to have to find out tomorrow. But I think he's going to go with the guy who finished the game the other night.
All right, now Dylan Larkin, the Red Wings centerman, has requested a trade. That's fact. And now there was a report today that with his no trade, he has submitted a list of 3 teams to whom he would prefer to be traded: the Florida Panthers, the Vegas Golden Knights, and the Minnesota Wild. Say it ends up being the Wild. What if Detroit wants Wally? What if Detroit wants Wallstedt? What do you think about that?
I say no. 100% no, because ultimately, ask anybody in hockey, if you don't have strong goaltending, you're not going to win a cup. Period. Stop. And so that being said, I think if they do get Larkin, or obviously they're in the mix, I think there's going to be more than one team involved in a deal like this. Detroit does not need a goaltender. So I don't know why they would, why Wallstedt would be number one on their list. Maybe, or for that fact, Gustafsson. Now we know Gustafsson had surgery. I think Minnesota will eventually move Gustafsson. That's just my opinion, but I do think that it may take some creativity on the part of Minnesota and Detroit to get the deal done. And Detroit is going. They're not going to give Larkin away, and so they're going to want some pieces to it now, and that may happen to involve another team, and they work out a deal that way. And that being said, should Minnesota get Larkin, and I think people get just stuck on the idea that, oh my God, we got Larkin, we cannot do anything else. Well, that's not true. A good general manager, which Billy Guerin is, would have the ability to make other moves to make your team better. And so it just doesn't have to be a one move type of situation. And hence that, to me, that means there could be another team involved. That could be Minnesota moving other players, via trade or buyout or whatever the situation is. And, ultimately the pieces are here for Minnesota, but there's some tweaking that needs to happen, and we'll see what he does.
All right, last one. Minute and you get it all. McTockett, Pat Micheletti at Pat Mick 2626. What does Sebastian Aho do exceedingly well? And the reason I ask is he never blows up a box score, but that doesn't mean that he's a middling player. I mean, he's Hurricanes immortality. But like when you watch Sebastian Aho play, what does he do well?
Well, if you're going to look at a player, and we all are familiar with the way Dylan Larkin plays. Well, Sebastian Aho and Dylan Larkin are not that indifferent. I mean, they're both, we hate, this term, that 200-foot player, but he's highly intelligent. And if you look at players that are really good players, they are of high IQ, high intelligence, know what plays to make, know where to go on the ice, know when to make a good play or make a play and when not to know when to make a good play, are clock aware, meaning, okay, this situation, I have to do this, that, or the other thing. And so I would just put him on a very, very high intelligent player. And when you have someone like that, that's what makes him good in all areas, all over the ice.
Appreciate the flexibility, McTockett. Have a great day. Thanks for the time.
Yeah, you're the best. Thanks.
Pat Micheletti at Pat Mick 2626 on the Stanley Cup Final and a Game 4 will be heard tomorrow night on FM 100.3 KFAN. Also on KFAN to be heard is Minnesota Vikings wide receiver Justin Jefferson. He joins us next.
Let's go right now.
Live from the TCO Performance Center in Eagan, this is Paul Allen from the KFAN Minnesota